Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be talking about one of my favourite topics ever. And if any of you have seen my previous videos, first of all, thank you so much, then you know what it is going to be. It's the fantastic, super fun, not anxiety inducing topic that is editing. If you've seen my videos, you know I hate editing. I don't know why, it just brings this ball of anxiety in my chest and I hate it with a passion. I don't know whether it's because, you know, when you're reading over your own work, you are never going to be fully happy with what you've written. You are never going to be 100% satisfied and feel like, yes, this is 100% ready for publishing. There's always going to be something at the back of your mind that says, you could do this better, you could do this instead. It is never going to shut up in here, and I really struggle with that. My anxiety does not let me just get over it. So I thought I'd make this video just to explain how I edit, some things I found that really help me with editing and will hopefully help you, and also try and go into detail of why I hate this so much. I don't know, maybe talking about it will help something click in my head. Maybe it'll help you guys. Maybe you guys can help me. Please help me. Okay, so as you guys know, my first branded novel is completed. The first draft is done. I am so happy that it is, because I am so excited to continue the series. I have big plans, but before I can get there, I have to edit the damn thing. Now, I really wanted to just power through editing, and then while my beta readers were looking at that, I would be able to power through with the sequel. That has not worked out because schedules have shifted, the lockdown came on, and everything has just been thrown up in the air. And although I managed to get a huge chunk done during Camp NaNoWriMo in April, that doesn't mean that it's any close to being finished, which is annoying as all hell. So let's backtrack big time. Let's take a look at my editing process. I would bring my laptop up to show you guys an example of my editing. However, my laptop is currently charging and it does not like to be touched when it is charging.
Well, why don't you just wait until it's charged and then you can do the video later?
Because I don't have time, believe it or not. Despite being in lockdown, I do have a pretty big to-do list that I need to get done today, and I just don't have time for my laptop to play silly buggers, okay? I just can't. Okay, so backtracking. I have finished Branded 1. The full book is done, first draft, zero draft, whatever you want to call it, it is done. Now, while I was writing it, every time I would finish a chapter, I would then send that chapter to my beta reader. Mechanisms, I've put her information in my videos before. I will do so again because she is a fantastic person, an amazing artist, and she Twitch streams on the regular for her artwork. My words are just failing me today. So every time I finish a chapter, it gets sent to her. She reads it through, gives me a little bit of feedback, but she also keeps this feedback for me. So I send her a chapter, she gives me some feedback, get chapter, feedback, back and forth, until I have finished the book. Then I think so many people say, oh, you need to leave your book alone for a good month or two, just so when you do go back to editing it, you look at it with fresh eyes. And I can completely understand where... Choo-choo. I don't know if you can hear the train in the background there. Anyway, I completely understand where people are coming from with that, because it is very enlightening to take a step back and then you can look at this with fresh eyes. You can see things that you didn't before, because when you're stuck right there in the moment, it is hard to see the bigger picture. So I can see why taking a longer break would work. But my brain doesn't work like that. When I'm in the middle of something, I am in the middle of it. I am not getting out for love nor money. I don't know what it is. My brain is just like, okay, you finished, but you haven't finished. You need to carry on. Why are you stopping? It makes no sense to stop. You've already hit the big marker. You need to keep going. Don't you dare stop. And I try to ignore it, I really do. I try to take a few days up to a week away from writing just to give myself a break and try to, you know, clear my head, so then when I do go back to it, I've not forgotten the story, but I've forgotten the beginning, and then I'll forget the end by the time I get to the end. That's just my way of thinking. I do try and take at least a week off. 9 times out of 10, I really can't. I'm in the middle. Why would I leave? You need to just power through. Just power through. Don't stop, just power through. And my brain just won't shut up. So yes, after attempting to take a week away from writing, I will then go back to the beginning. I will look at the notes and feedback that I've been given, and I will try and go through the entire thing based on that, and seeing anything that I've noticed as well, like any major grammar mistakes, plot holes, formatting, that kind of thing, and I will just nitpick the entire thing. Once that's done, then I send it back to Mechanisms, but I also send it to other beta readers as well. I try and send it to people who are in the target demographic for the type of book that I'm writing. So the people I've sent it to, they enjoy dark fantasies, they enjoy a bit of adventure, they enjoy, you know, character banter, based stories, that kind of thing. So I tried to pick based on that, because there is no point sending a fantasy adventure story to someone who mainly reads horror or historical novels, that kind of thing. It's just you're not going to get the type of feedback that you want, because it's not the genre that they enjoy. You're just shooting yourself in the foot early on in that one. So I try and find people that do match the kind of writing that I do. While they're reading, I might start a new project, or I'll try and do a little bit more nitpicking in the story that I've sent to them, you know, just to keep my mind busy, just to keep myself in the writing groove, because if I stop for too long, then I go into a slump and it takes me so long to get back into it, and I do not want that. So then comes the agonizing wait for feedback, and when you do get it, sometimes it is not the feedback that you want, and you do feel like quitting, and you do feel like just curling up into a ball and burning every single piece of writing that you've ever created in your entire life. And it hurts like hell, but if you find good beta readers, then you find people who are able to give criticism constructively and also give advice. I mean, if you find someone that just says, yeah, this is shit, and then that's it, then you're not getting feedback, you're not understanding why they think it's shit, you don't understand what to do to make it better. It is just a hurtful statement rather than something that you can build off of. Luckily, I have not come across anyone like that yet, and touch wood, hopefully I never will. No, my beta readers have been great, I can't fault them. I think that's something that I really hate about editing, is the back and forth and the waiting. You work so hard on something and you think that you've got it right, but then you send it to someone else and realise that you're nowhere near, so then you have to go through it all again, and then you send it back, only to see that other issues have come to light, and then you've got to do it again, and again, and again. By that point, you don't really have that emphasis that you did when you were first writing, because everything has just been beaten out of you and you've had to Frankenstein your story in and out of existence so many times, and it really does hurt. And people keep telling you it's worth it, and I do fully believe that it is going to be worth it later down the line, but right now I think I am at the stage where I finished it, I've edited it, and I've sent it off to beta readers twice, so I'm in the 3rd stages of editing, and my brain is fully ready to flop out. I feel like if my head tilts too far to the side, my brain is just gonna... It's the uncertainty, it is the questioning, it is the going around in circles, and it is the thought of having to trust people with your writing, your baby. It's terrifying, it's anxiety fueling, it's just an absolute nightmare, and I hate it because it makes you question everything about yourself and about your writing process. And even though it's good, because I have learned so much from editing, I've seen mistakes that I've been making for so long that I now know I don't have to worry about in future projects because I'm aware of them and I can stop them in advance. That's great. So editing isn't a bad thing at all, that is not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that me personally, I hate it because I get very paranoid about my abilities to write and my capability of making a good story. So when it is being picked apart for good reason and not in cruel intentions whatsoever, my brain is just like that worst enemy of, you're crap, why are you still doing this? Just stop now. That is something that, back when I did go to therapy briefly, that is something that my therapist said, is that I have personal bully syndrome or something along those lines, where my brain is my worst enemy, and it's like I am hardwired to constantly be putting myself down and to always assume the worst of my capability. Something that I have been working on. The videos have honestly really helped because I see so many like-minded people out there and so many creative, amazing, welcoming people, and it makes me feel grateful and it makes me feel like I'm not alone, and I feel a lot better in myself. I've learned to not question myself as much as I did, and I've also learned that the different kinds of criticism, they don't all have to be hurtful and they're not personal. It's just how things are, and I'm okay with that. It's interesting on the topic of going back and rereading your work, that obviously your characters have to go through a lot of development. I've said this in previous videos. Whatever character you start with, that is not the character you finish with at the end of your story. Development takes place, learning, emotional growth, attachments, relationships, situations, mindsets, beliefs. They all change throughout the course of a story. The character arc. So when you do go back, like at the moment I'm reading this one character who that's because I've spent so long like writing the end part, I've forgotten bits of the beginning. So now I'm writing her as this, like she's one of the demons, so she doesn't really understand human ways, and she's very open and excitable about everything, and she's just like, oh my god, this world is amazing. But then at the beginning of the story, she was a bit of a psychopath. She just didn't care. Like, yeah, she was still excited about being in this new world, but she was more like, do humans really matter? Whereas by the end of the story, she's just that like, humans have so many things. Like, it's just weird going back and seeing this dark, grim, almost unlikable person and just fighting that urge to change, because I'm like, no, you're not that person anymore. I need to fix you. I need to fix you and, you know, be my baby again. But then I have to stop myself, because I'm like, no, otherwise if she's just the same all the way through, then A, it's not going to make sense to the story, and B, she's not going to have any development. You need to stop. It's just like weird seeing how these clueless, wandering little figures develop into personalities, only to be changed into someone almost completely different, and you're managing this progress and you don't really see it. As you're writing, you're very aware that these characters are going through a lot of stuff and they do need to change, but then you're not really fully aware of, this is going to be the point where you start thinking this in this way, and then, you know, you're aware of the curve, because obviously you're the writer and you have like your plot points that you need to meet, but you're not 100% aware of how the curve is taking shape until you go back to the beginning and edit it, and you're just like, these are two very different people. What kind of conversations would your characters have if you got the character from the beginning of the story and then their end of arc? If you put those two people in the same room, what would happen? Because it could be one hell of a party, I'll tell you that much. I guess one of the things I'm worried about with editing is that I feel like I am making my story worse, because I do overthink everything. My brain just doesn't shut up, and it's a blessing and a curse in a way. I don't know. But I feel like if I write something and I like it, but then other people don't, and then I'm trying to change it and edit it to make sure that it is likable to multiple people, am I trying to please too many people? Am I making things worse? Was it better just trusting my gut in the first place? These are decisions that you need to make, and they're not easy ones, and you never know which is the right option until you get more feedback. So at the moment I have 3 or 4 different documents, all based on the same story. One will be my original, the other will be based on feedback, another will be based on somebody else's feedback, and it just goes on. So you have created so many different like parallel universes of different scenes, and you just have to see which ones work together to create this Frankenstein's monster of a thing that isn't going to please everybody. You're never going to please everyone, so let's just get that out of your head right now. I'm still trying to get it out of my head. Something that works and tells the story that you want while also being readable to others. At the end of the day, that is what gets me about editing so much, is that you are never sure of anything. Writing the story is actually the easiest damn part, because you're aware of where things are going, you're aware of how these characters change, but when it comes to editing, everything gets pulled into question, and I'm never fully okay with that because of my own anxiety. Some little tips and tricks that I have come up with for editing is really trying hard not to take things personally. I mean, these people are here to help you, and you can tell very early on when people are just being there to be a dick. I mean, there is a difference between, I've talked about this in a previous video before, but you can tell the difference between constructive criticism and just being mean. Being patient as well. I mean, try not to just blast through the entire thing in a week, because you burn yourself out. You get so tired of seeing these same paragraphs over and over again, and you just end up missing way more, and sometimes even creating more problems. You do need to take your time with it, and I hate that. I'm not a patient person at all. I'm anxiety fueled and I'm not a patient person, so this is just a fantastic mix overall. Something else I've learned is that apps are not always the most trustworthy things. I love Hemingway. Hemingway is a great website where you can just, I've mentioned this in another video as well, you just put all of your work into this program, and it picks out what sentences are hard to read, where you've used too many adjectives, all the grammar stuff. It works really well, but sometimes a bit too well, because it can't tell the difference of when you're writing a novel and when you're writing an essay, so it's very academic based. So it tries to format and fix things in a way that you would put in like an essay or a thesis. And the same goes for a lot of websites out there. They are so based on, I think because they're so used to being used for university things, that the actual, putting them as a story in a novel tends to go over its head a little bit. So please use them in terms of like grammar, but take them with a pinch of salt, because they're not always right to what you want to put forward. And at the end of the day, trust yourself. It is way easier said than done, but sometimes you just need to trust your gut. Sometimes beta readers and editing apps and all the rest of it are not going to know exactly what you were trying to put forward. They don't know what's going on inside your head. They don't know what is happening in future installments of the story. So please listen to your beta readers and listen to your editors, but just make sure that you're not changing your story. If this is your story at the end of the day, your baby, you're the one who created it, so please listen to people and take their advice and try a few new things here and there, but do not sacrifice what your work wants to be, okay? I feel like I have prattled on way too much about this, and I am going to do future episodes based around editing, so keep an eye out for those. I just kind of wanted to do an overall information dump for you right now of my editing process, why I hate it so much, and a few little hints and tips. Please, if you have any hints and tips, send them my way, because I need help big time. Especially if I'm hoping to have at least one of these books published by the end of the year. But the way my luck is going, we'll see how that one goes. I hope you're all staying safe, I hope your writing projects are going amazing, and I hope that you are just coping, entertaining yourself, and staying safe, and all that jazz. And I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, my scribblers.